Hi, everyone. This is Kashoon. Welcome to Paklaunch webinar. Today, we are hosting this webinar on a very interesting topic, which is unleashing Pakistan's talent potential through IT. And we have an amazing panel with us. We're joined by Ameen Ahmad, who is Executive Vice President of Visionet Systems. And we're joined by Senior Vice President of Systems Limited. Systems Limited and Visionet need no introduction. It's one of the top exporter companies in Pakistan, but also a very key player of IT services globally. And who else to sort of host this conversation with other than the management and the senior leadership from Systems Limited and Visionet. Just quickly hopping in onto the topic. But before I do that, welcome Kashif and Ameen.
Thank you, Kashoon. Really nice to be here.
Yeah, same here.
Brilliant. Very nice to have both of you to speak about Pakistan's talent potential. I think Pakistan is sort of emerging as an innovation and tech hub. And while there are multiple indicators and drivers of this of a tech destination, one of the key indicators is the availability of human capital. And Pakistan sort of offers itself and projects itself as a talent hub for the world. We have, a 140 million plus of populations. Pakistan's population is youth. So we are offering a young, dynamic, English-speaking population. In fact, Pakistan is the third largest English-speaking population in the world. And, there are many other factors that we look at. There in the recorded formal economy, we have 6 lakh IT professionals. Every year, we sort of pour in more 25,000 plus IT graduates into the market. Pakistan is like the second most favorable destination for starting a business in South Asia. And in terms of freelancers, we're ranked third in the global freelancers market. So that's the sort of outlook, statistically speaking, of Pakistan's talent potential, right? But then, when we talk about real numbers, which is, sort of capitalizing on this talent and translating it into exports figures or sort of revenue number, that's something that we still, lag behind. We're still chasing up on those numbers. For instance, if we look at other IT services companies, look at the counterparts of systems in India, for instance, Tech Mahindra, Infosys, they have revenues which are recorded in billions. But systems, I think, is a unique example from Pakistan, which still is sort of very close to the billion number, and is also offering services not only in Pakistan but in the world. Right. And that's something that I'm particularly very fascinated about, because systems has a unique case study, which is separate from other companies and other, outlets in Pakistan. And, this is where, I want to start the discussion with you. How do you think that system sort of, in this world of IT services companies where the India and other offshore destinations are sort of rapidly taking over, how does system sort of navigate through this red ocean, right? And how do you differentiate yourself from other IT companies?
Yeah, thank you, Kashoon. I think thank you for setting up the stage. I would also, just to add, a couple of, I think, correlated points I'd like to mention here is that there is a very significant correlation between the population which you just mentioned and, the GDP of the countries, right? And if I look at it high level, like, top 5 countries across the globe, like, they produce about 45% of the world GDP. If you take like top 10, then, they produce about 60% of the world GDP, right? And Pakistan is only at 0.4% of, being top 5 countries. So there is definitely, the correlation between the population and the opportunity, which we have. Having said that, I think, since when the IT was blooming, in the .com area or in the 2000s, early 2000s, we kind of get stuck into some other, geopolitical challenges, and, rest of the countries have moved forward. However, I guess companies like System Limited, the initiation of companies like that, the other businesses that started, it's coming to pick up significantly. I still will not compare ourselves as compared to some of the neighboring countries because just of the scale, right? You know, we are about 230 million people. They are about 1.4 billion people, right? And they are far more penetrated across the globe as compared to, you know, to Pakistan. Having said that, I would like people to think about Pakistan as a very high talent, you know, high skilled people available, and you know what we see as we continue to excel and grow within, you know, Visionet and systems, we start competing with some of these large IT companies in the customers which we go to market with. And we start winning projects against them, and we are winning against because, you know, because of the top talent we have, or the things which we can do faster, cheaper, or maybe even with less number of people, right? So I will kind of narrate Pakistan as a country which has lesser population but a very high quality of the talent. And I'm very sure, like, you know, it's our aspiration in last, especially like, you know, I remember, like, you know, there was a lot of struggle when we go to customers and we tell them, you know, to bring services to offshore, and you know, they would never believe it. Thanks to you know, and obviously the pandemic, which is not so good otherwise, but for offshoring, it really helped a lot, where people start realizing that a lot of things can be done. And you won't believe that within the 2-3 years of the duration of pandemic, Visionet and systems has almost doubled in our size and on growth. You know, so that's I think our journey is progressing very well. We continuously focus in certain industries where we operate. We started our work with financial services. We went into retail, supply chain, manufacturing area. Then from there, we went into pharmaceutical, insurance, and other tech industries and so forth. And we'll continue to focus and bring products in these industries and kind of continue to differentiate ourselves. But I would again say that, you know, when we compete with in the global market, and especially in the US market, we have these solutions which can bring or solve customer problems far faster than, you know, some of our competitors. But one very interesting point, Kashoon, which I will mention, and probably like it's not something which companies publish on their websites or in their marketing material, is that we are still small. So we are very customer focused, right? So even, you know, some of multi-billion-dollar organizations which we serve today, a TCS or Wipro CEO might not go and meet their CIO and give a personal assurance, but we can, or we do. And, you know, that gives us strong comfort for our customers that, you know, their entire company, you know, all the way from a software engineer or a support person to the CEO is committed to their success. I think, you know, that's a significant differentiator where they see the attention from a company like us. And then I think, you know, I'll maybe as we continue to further discuss more, I'll talk you the DNA of the company, you know, why we are so passionate about customer, how we all kind of get ingrained into this concept of customer obsession, you know, kind of working with them very closely. And so we really started by, you know, Syed Babar Ali and Azad, and that's another story which I'll cover shortly. But I think, you know, these couple of things are nimbleness, our agility, our high quality of talent, our focus on industry, our focus on building solutions is really something which we at least go and differentiate ourselves. And last but not least, you know, we are very, very focused on customer success, or making sure that the customer is successful and the projects which we do or the work we do is successful for them. That really helps us. And just a simple translation of that is that, you know, about 70 to 80% of our business comes from references, and those are the customers who we work with, right? You know, so I think the more and more people we work with, they get to have the familiarity with the organization, get familiarity with the people who are committing and delivering the business to them, and that just continue to scale ourselves. And we are very excited for this journey, and hopefully, like we are targeting to go first billion-dollar company from Pakistan. Not that that we're going to stop. We're going to continue growing from there, but that's what our interim target, and hopefully we'll be there very soon.
Yeah, awesome. I think like 3 points that you touched upon that I want to briefly talk about is that one, availability of talent, that too at cheaper rates, right? That's what Pakistan and primarily South Asia offers. And the question follow-up that I have from, for you is that then how do you sort of navigate that, because you also have offshore centers in Egypt and India as well, right? Then how does system sort of navigates through this? Because again, nowadays we can say that Bangalore is relatively expensive and not a favorable destination in terms of competitive rates. But relatively previously we used to say that Pakistan and India sort of have the same population, sort of have the same, not exactly population, but talent rates, right? So usme, like how does system navigates through that? Two, you talked about products. And that is something which is relatively less focused upon in Pakistan. So we're generally focused, we're a services driven industry, right? We don't really focus on SaaS products. We're not product driven. We don't have much product driven companies. How does system envision that journey for Pakistan? How are you going to sort of invest in a talent or talent training programs? And Kashif, I'll come to you for that. Talent training programs for which are focusing on companies which are product driven. And three, Ameen, I would like you to touch upon the success story that you mentioned, because for me, honestly, this is very interesting. And I think this is also like a lesson for many companies, viewers that have joined, CEOs of many companies who are looking at this webinar and sort of thinking for their own companies. Okay, how do they sort of come out of these crises and challenges in Pakistan that they see, or especially at a time when you have these remote workers coming in, talent deficit that we have in Pakistan. So Ameen, like talk about availability of talent comparison sort of between India and Pakistan, the success story, and then Kashif, I'll come to you for the SaaS product talent investment.
Yeah, Kashoon, thank you. You have a loaded question. I'll try to answer, pick some of these, and then we'll have Kashif also add to those. First of all, I think, and I would like to tell the initiation or the founding of the company systems. It was founded 45 years ago. Sayyid Babar Ali and Azal Hussain. I mean, I think the most interesting fact about that is that when they initially thought about building that company or starting a company, the very foundation of that company is inclusion of the employees. You won't believe that they pretty much are 50% owner of the company at that point of time, but they have at the very starting break was that, they will include employees as the ownership of the organization. And today, between Azaz and Sayyid Babar Ali, they own less than 15% of the overall organization, and rest is being distributed and participated with the people who are currently responsible for growing the organization and taking to the other countries. I think that foundation and then inclusion of employees really keep certain people and our focus on people to serve, and the loyalty on the organization. I think that's a very significant thing. When I joined Systems Limited, I joined as a software engineer. I was the salary was something lower than 10,000 rupees, and when my expectation was that, and when I got the initial joining letter, it was few thousand more than that. I was very happy. The company is very focused on the employees, but thank God that after that the company continues to grow, go leaps and bounds. We went to US, we went to Middle East, we went to South Africa, and more recently, we continue to expand into UK, Europe, Australia, Singapore, even in multiple offices within US and so forth. So, we more recently went into Saudi as well, and we continue to expand in other areas. And that expansion is bringing opportunities for everybody to grow along with the company. And I think, that that happened is that, the people who joined Systems Limited and then they moved on to one of these organizations and help in growing all those organizations. And eventually continue to focus on bringing business back to Pakistan. So that was, I think, the very key driver of including the employees, in employee inclusion, making them part of the organization, part of the success, giving them the opportunity to fulfill their dreams, do things they want to do, from whether they want to go and open up new geo or whether they want to build new products. A very interesting point which you mentioned, Kashoon, is that that we have not focused on the products. Actually, it's not totally true. We always been, trying to create tools and products, although SaaS has become more popular in more last few decades and so. But since very start, we building products and solutions for our customers. One of our mentor in System Limited, he was a PhD doctor, and he used to say that the solutions to the problem breed new problems, right? So we always keep this as that, we solve one problem and it gives, create new challenges, new different situations, and we solve those problems as well. So as part of that, early 2000s, we created tools for Y2K, solving that problem. Then we went into, building solutions around mortgage industry. We're building solutions around insurance industry. We went into building solutions around manufacturing, EDI solutions, live commerce solutions, some AI-based document management solutions. So there were many various things, which we have built. However, majority of those solutions, we kept it as a packaged offering for our customers. More recently, in last about 5-6 years, we start offering those solutions as SaaS products and kind of taking them as to separate of their own journeys. We are very, I think, positive about scaling of those SaaS products within the US marketplace and across the globe. And we're hopeful those will be one of the marquee products in the future. And as far as you talk about the rate competition, I think still Pakistan is considered as the most economical country from the cost perspective. I think we can very much compete with any other provider across the globe, and just from the price point of view, scale, I think we still have some training and some enablement needs to happen, and Kashif can talk a little bit more about what we are doing, to enable scale within Pakistan. Kashif, if you want to.
Sure. So I will cheat the system a little bit because there are some interesting questions in the chat as well. And I think, Kashoon, your question has already been answered by Ameen. But before I nitpick what are the questions I want to answer, I will ask a question to the audience because I want to understand that we have 50+ people logged in. I want to see if the audience understand the scale of operations of systems. So I'll ask 2 questions. Number 1, guess what is the annual revenue in US dollars of Systems Group? And number 2, guess what is our global workforce size? So while you type in your chat answers, now let me pick a few of the talent related questions and try to answer that. So when it comes to talent, we do have offshore centers across the world, right? So we have offshore center in India, we have multiple offices in Pakistan, and we also have offshore center in Egypt. And obviously, the reasons we have all these offshore centers is because, first of all, Pakistan alone cannot satisfy our demand for talent. So this is one reason. The other is because if you want to be a $1 billion company, you have to have a globalized footprint when it comes to talent. So that's another reason why we have a presence in India. And in Middle East, Egypt is a country very similar to Pakistan. I mean, both in good ways and in bad ways as well, right? So bad ways being, they are also perpetually going to IMF, and so are we, and institutional intervention and all of that. But in good sense, they also have good talent density. So because we are expanding quite literally exponentially in Middle East market, therefore we need Arabic speaking talented engineers. So that's why we are in Egypt as well. So our expansion is first across geography, and then within Pakistan we're expanding as well. And that is, again, I mean, if you remember Amazon, when Amazon thought that they needed to have a second headquarter, one of the key criteria for selecting where they would have the second and third headquarter was the universities that they could find in that area, right? So you've got to go as an IT services company. Our business is to monetize human capital, their skill set. So therefore, we have to go closer to where the talent is. A lot of people who are logged in, some of them I see familiar names. A lot of them went to GIK and NAST and LUMS, and a lot of them were not from the larger cities. So we were living in hostel. I myself, I'm from Multan. So now we are opening up. We understand, we did a survey, we recognize that a lot of tier 1 universities in Pakistan, a lot of the students that go there are not actually from those cities. So we've opened up offices in Multan, we have opened up office in Faisalabad, we could open in Peshawar and in other cities as well. So that is one of the, to answer one of the questions over there, how we are kind of catering for talent challenges that we find in Pakistan. So that's one of the reasons, that's one of how we are doing it. So there's some interesting responses. So let me take those responses. So someone is saying 100 million, 700 million. So those who are saying 700 and 500 million, inshallah soon. Aapke muh mein ghee shakkar, but we are 270 million. So Essen is closest. He says $300 million. So Essen, you're almost there. We are $270 million in December 2022.
Kashif, I think systems should send something to Essen as a gift.
we will be $300 million. We are still $30 million short of that. Inshallah, we will, right? Yeah. But I'm more excited about 700 million and 500 million. So what Ameen was alluding to was, and Fazan is 250 million. So what Ameen was alluding to, that we have a saying, our group CEO Arshad said in his signature, he writes 543. So that's the kind of open secret within system. And what does 543 means? In 5 years, we want to quadruple our revenues. And that's what takes us to over 1 billion, inshallah. And we want to do it with 3 times the workforce. That means we want to be doing 4 times the revenue with 3 times the workforce means that we're worried about our bottom line as well. So we want to drive growth through extreme efficiency. So that's what we are trying to do. And in terms of number of people the system group has, we are close to 8,000 people, right? So that's the scale that you are looking at. And if you compare it with our competitors in India, companies that touch $1 billion revenue, they are generally, around 20,000 plus minus people. So that's how far we are from where we want to be, and we want to be there very quickly. So that's the scale we are talking about. Now, coming back to talent, where is the shortage of talent? Personally, I feel that the shortage of talent is not in monetizable engineering skills. If you look at our universities, LUMS computer science graduate is 200 plus minus. You add electrical engineers to it, with a little bit of training, they do well. We can monetize their skills in IT industry as well. So you're looking at 300 plus minus graduates only from LUMS, and LUMS is a tier 1 university, so is GIK, LAST, and all these universities. So collectively, tier 1 does produce 1,000, 2,000 graduates. Then you go to tier 2, tier 3 universities, you have a few thousand more graduates over there. So all of those graduates are good enough for us to monetize their skills at an international level. So my personal feeling is that the talent dearth is not so much at hardcore engineering skill. We have a serious talent dearth at the management skills, at the management level. Now, the reason why a lot of IT companies in Pakistan do not feel that dearth is because some by choice or some by majburi are not dabbling or aspiring to have the kind of skill and ambition that systems has. If you look at Pakistan IT industry, you would see that, which other company comes even closest to $270 million revenue? I mean, all the companies, I don't want to name them, but look at their annual revenue, look at how far system is ahead of them. So those companies has not begin to come closer to even, feeling the kind of scale challenge and the unique challenges that we feel. And when we feel those challenges, we try to address them as well. So for the middle management dearth, what we are doing is that we have launched multiple programs with LUMS. We call it Sisters Tech. So we have graduated hundreds of our upcoming managers through that program. That's how we're grooming our own people to take up management positions. We are also we have partnered with Babar Ali Saab's Ali Institute, where we are taking non-CS graduates and we are cross-training them with vocational computer science skills, which are monetizable. We just graduated first batch a few weeks ago from that institute, and inshallah will continue to invest there as well. So and we have hired many of those people who graduated from there as well. So that's how we are trying to partner with the universities and with various vocational institutes to try to address our own talent challenges, which system probably feels it far more than few of the other companies do. So that's few of the things that I wanted to say. So Kashoon, over to you.
Yeah, Kashif, I'll just build on what you said. And one of the interesting points that I sort of want to stress, which Ameen mentioned, was his own personal journey as a computer software engineer to being a VP, which sounds like systems is sort of doing an investment in its own employees, right? And that's something that I want you, Kashif, to talk about. So you said that you're doing certain trainings with universities, so academia industry linkage, that you invest into the early graduates, and then you sort of take them through the journey of becoming thought leaders, as you said was a deficit, like there's a sufficient deficit in Pakistan for. So then like how are you sort of transforming them into, like, so is there a series of trainings that you're focusing on? And then second, so that's one question that I have for you. And second is that then what sort of trainings are you focusing on, right? And within the training spectrum, certain skill set that you want that is sort of missing in Pakistan's talent landscape, and the universities as well as the IT companies should invest into, and particularly what systems feels like is something that they're already doing. They have a certain success story or a success rate with a certain skill set that they've been following up with.
Yeah, so good point. So let me answer your question directly, and also let me say a few other things. And again, I'm driving my inspiration to answer question based on what I see in chat as well, which also kind of parallels with what you're saying. So not every IT services company in Pakistan will face the same challenge. As Ameen was saying, that in IT, we rarely solve a challenge. We solve a challenge which produces additional challenges, and that's how we continue to solve challenge. That's how the industry grows. So similarly, at systems, while we are facing challenge because of scale, we are also in a unique position to solve those challenges in a unique way. So for example, if you are scaling and you are, let's say you land in a large enterprise customer, and they are going to require skills beyond just Java and .NET, right? They're going to even require skills of an accountant. They're going to be a BPO requirement as well. So the diversity of the skill set that you need for a large company, they have, the addressable pie also becomes larger. So what that means is not only do we need elite Java and .NET engineers, we would also be fine going with a kind of a 2 years diploma computer science kind of a graduate as well. So we create jobs not only for tier 1 4-year degree, but we also create jobs and monetize skills which are not as cutting edge as normally other IT industry companies in Pakistan need that for. So therefore, our cross training boot camps are also geared towards that. We don't see any value in creating a boot camp that further levels up a LUMS graduate. For that, all we need to do is they're already tier 1 graduates, and so is GIK, NAST, and UETs and NEDs. They're tier 1 universities. The graduates are good enough, and we can monetize them within a few months. So the kind of boot camp that we run for them are more around, how to present yourself in interview, more like soft skills, so that our foreign customers, kind of find them appealing and quickly let us monetize those. For other geographies like Middle East, we are now going in APAC as well, and we're going to open an office in Kenya as well. Over there, the skills requirement are slightly different. The customer's appetite for elite consulting is also not there. So therefore, for those kind of graduates who fit well in those industry demand, we run a different type of bootcamp. So the IT Mustaqbil program is more geared towards low margin, economy of scales kind of opportunities that we have. The BPOs and AMS, managed services, 24/7 support kind of a thing. So that's how what system is doing is, because of our scale, there's a lot of diversity of skill set that we need, and for each type of skill set, our boot camp, our training needs are different. I hope I've answered your question, Kashoon.
Yes, pretty much. There's a question in the chat which I sort of wanted to ask you as well. But it says like, what are the gaps in the current training boot camps, in the boot camps that you're certainly doing currently, and then how can you sort of address those gaps to reach the goal of 1 billion?
So in our boot camps, obviously there can't be gaps because those boot camps are very customized to our needs. So if there are still gaps in those boot camps, this means we are not doing a good enough job. So I don't see that there is any gap in our boot camps. They're very fine tailored to what we need. But for programs that we are running for the industry, like IT Mustaqbil, there could be some gaps because those boot camps are not specifically only to address our needs. Those are mostly to give non-computer science graduates skills so they can monetize it within IT industry. So because we just graduated the first batch and we were able to hire some of them, but we did not hire all of them because we didn't have the need for the rest of the candidates. We are going to wait and see how the industry does the, have the uptake of those graduates. And then maybe we will find some gaps and we would fix them. So because the batch just graduated, so it's too premature to for me to speculate what are the gaps in their skills.
I was just going to ask you, and I was certainly, curious about the dividends of these boot camps, right? So like, how did those boot camps actually translate into some actual export figures for you, right? And then I also want to ask you that there's somewhere I read that Systems is sort of, went on a roadshow to sort of, check out the skills in other cities, for instance, like Multan. And I think, please correct me if I'm wrong, you were trying to also open centers in Multan and Faisalabad. So how did that turn out? What is the availability of skills like in such cities like which are not basically main corporate centers in Pakistan?
Right. So our experience with Multan and Faisalabad has been great because I myself belong to Multan. So I was so what System does is that one of the risks with these satellite offices is that they're far removed from our key areas where our top leaders sit. So, out of sight, out of mind might happen. So what we are doing for each of our key leaders, we assign them a center. So Multan office is assigned to me and so is Faisalabad. So I visit those centers, and my experience in Multan and Faisalabad center is, first of all, there is a tremendous amount of gratitude for the people over there. Because imagine that, you send your kid to LUMS, to GIK, to NAST, and then as a parent, you are separated from them for 4 years. And now the kid, after having gotten a tier 1 degree, can actually stay with the parents and work for a tier 1 company. I mean, how amazing is that? It takes back me to 1997 when I graduated. If Systems had an office back then, and System was a $270 million company back then, I think mere maa baap ki duaein System ko 1 billion bana deti. That is the level of excitement that I'm seeing when I visit Multan. Literally parents, and because it's although by population it's a large city, but they have never had tier 1 company set up office. And what we are seeing in those cities is that, the Chamber of Commerce, their president just walks into the office and say, well, I'm amazed that you have an office over here. And so those kind of really, heart-touching stories we are seeing over there, right? And because IT companies generally are more focused on employee engagement. So the policies that we have for employees are obviously far evolved than, let's say, what a cement factory in Dera Ghazi Khan would have for its employees. So therefore, when our employees go out for meals or for doing charity, that in itself uplifts the whole, the city. It's a new tradition that we are introducing. So we have had tremendous success. The retention is very good in those cities. The camaraderie is very good in those cities. And we have even had cases where, a girl from, I remember I did her final interview. She graduated from NAST. She got married in Multan, and now she and her husband both are working in Systems. So hum ससुराल वालों को भी जो है ना उस तरह से adjust करें. So this has been an amazing experience, and we'll inshallah have an office in Peshawar soon. So I'm sure that we would be able to handle, address that. And another interesting thing is we even have employees from Afghanistan on work permit, right? So just imagine that that once we have an office in the north of Pakistan, like somewhere in Peshawar, we could even tap into that talent, right? So a lot of excitement and a lot of great things that we are hearing from those offices.
Yeah. And Kashif, I think I just wanted to extend, I think there were some questions around talent and type of talent and the skill set available in Pakistan. I think I would say, I mean, we do a lot of things, as I was mentioning earlier, that, earlier we started building a lot of tools around solving Y2K problem, and those were RPG COBOL areas, right? We started there, but we continue to evolve. Even every 4 or 5 years, we keep on changing and evolving and bring new solutions and new technologies to our skill sets, because we have to continuously growing with our customers. And I think from that point of view, I extremely appreciate our partnership with our customers, who kind of, as they continue to grow and we continue to solve problems with them and learn new things. And for example, today, if you ask about, I think any skill in software engineering, like, we can take care of that. Except like, if you talk about chip manufacturing, obviously that's not there. But if you are from the software engineering point of view, from the digital technology point of view, from data engineering point of view, machine learning, AI point of view, even like, call center or 24/7 services, I think, somebody was asking about that. We cover all those things for one of our customers in across the globe, right? Because we have teams set up in multiple shifts, multiple locations, covering different geolocations. Even if you need people on site or onshore, like, so that we pretty much cover. US is obviously the biggest presence, but like, we cover UK, we cover Europe, we cover Australia, we cover Middle East, we cover Canada, so majority of those areas are covered through one of the centers wherever we are geographically located. But from the technology skill perspective, as Kashif was mentioning, is that I actually, say that very proudly, that just because of the brand name of systems, every top IT institute graduate wants to work for Systems Limited. And so that anybody who is top class in their talent, in their capabilities, from programming perspective, from engineering perspective, they would like to come and work with us. And we are able to provide them the platform which solved, very cutting edge problems. Like, we're working with biopharma companies to create IoT-based predictions for disease and to solving certain disease, or maybe impacts of certain medication on certain diseases and things like that. And if we are doing forecasting for our retail and manufacturing or category customers to see that the success of a certain product launch in a particular region by a particular duration and things of those sort, which are very cutting edge things happening across the globe. So from talent point of view and from availability of skill point of view, I would say, we match with anybody else. And that's, I think, if you look at our current customers portfolio, which are like, from multi-billion-dollar organizations to some very large financial institutes, even like, PNC Bank or JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Regeneron, Coach, Kate Spade. I mean, there are many known brands, like, which you are very familiar with, whether in the financial sector, whether they are in manufacturing or supply chain or pharma area and whatever. Like, we are providing services to them. What I think the other thing which I feel is significantly missing, which Kashif alluded to, is our office, our geo presence, and many people have not, I would say, clear understanding of our scale and size and availability across the globe. What we are trying to do is that, we're trying to take our customers to our offshore centers to show them our capability, our size, our scale, our people, like, the people who they are working with. English language is a challenge in many other countries, right? Which we I think, our communication for majority of our skilled people is excellent, right? So we're trying to, I think, what we have to do is bring more and more focus and introduction to companies like Systems and Visionet to not only your organizations, and if you are visiting Pakistan, you do coordinate with me, coordinate with Kashif, come and see us. We would love to have a visit for our development centers, meet our whichever technology, whichever area you're focused on. We would love to have discussion sessions with them. And there are a lot of things, which we are doing within that geo itself, like within Pakistan. So we love to do that. I think, that is one biggest thing which I feel is missing, that, people do not have the deeper understanding of the size and scale and the capability of operations we are running there.
I think brilliant answer. I mean, there are two questions in the chat that are aligned to the comment that you just made, and I will direct them towards you. What vetting criteria should startups keep in mind while vetting IT companies? If you're looking to outsource IT services to Pakistan, that's one. And second is what is the biggest market for Pakistan IT companies outside Pakistan?
Yeah, I think US still is the biggest market for IT services. And I think, there are many others which are coming and growing. And, although there are other bigger markets like, China is there, India is there, but India also have significant competition, but China has language barriers and so forth. So from our perspective, the most progressive and easiest to do business is in North America, whether it's US or even Europe. I think, say in Europe, if you go to other languages, if you're in English, then it is very easy. Still can do the business from Pakistan, but in other languages, kind of you start get into some challenges. I think the questions around doing startup business, I think work with reputable companies, companies who are certified from your IP protection, from a compliance point of view, your data privacy perspective. For example, Systems and Visionet has all the necessary compliance to work with any large financial organization, which I means like, their ISO certifications, whether they are GDPR certifications, whether those are HIPAA certifications, we do all of them. We are even, certified, our offshore centers are certified by PNC banks, to process all their mortgage documents, like, in our offshore centers. I think, they're more specifically in India. So all those things you have to consider that, what type of company or individuals you are working with, your IP and your knowledge is being protected. And most importantly, which I have seen for startups, like when startup or starting organization, they typically does not have a lot of funding. They like to work with maybe one or few individuals who can do every magic under the sun, like, from software development perspective. Yeah, all-rounder, right? So it will become difficult to find such a person. So when you are doing, your initial phases of the startup, you can continue to find talent either locally or within, whether in US or Europe, wherever you are, and continue to build. But once your product start hitting the market and you see that, now you need a scale, at that point of time, it becomes very important that you partner with an organization like, Systems, like Visionet, where you can get access to not only their customer base. So for example, if you have a product which you are engineering, we are actually, there are 2 or 3 product companies which we are doing end-to-end engineering for them. And we go to market with them as well. We do implementation of their SaaS solutions with them. Not only, doing the software engineering for them, but we do go to market for them as well. So a lot of those things are possible and things are available, which we are currently doing. But just from the startups perspective, I think, look at from the scale point of view, whenever you're ready, when you think your idea is hit, you're getting the market traction, make sure that you utilize the benefits of offshore cost effectiveness, as well as the scale from the coverage perspective, whether it's 24/7 services or whether it's just a variety of skill, right? From software engineering to user experience to DevOps or cloud management and things like that. So we can combine all that package services to our customers.
Awesome. There's one question that I personally have, and I would, sort of pose that to you, both you and Kashif and Ameen. And, that's like we have talked about the availability of skills in Pakistan. We've talked about the gaps and the trainings that systems is sort of doing to invest in that talent. But the third thing is sort of when you have the right set of talent availability in Pakistan, but then how do you sort of project it on the global landscape? And that's something that Kashif, you also talked about. And this is something that I'm also curious about, that Kashif, how is system sort of taking on that responsibility of projecting Pakistan's talent on the global tech landscape and, projecting it as the talent hub and, thus offering the services and enabling those companies to sort of take Pakistan as an offshore destination?
Right. So a very good question. And there is a question in the chat as well by Faz Mohammed about unique selling points. So I will answer both these questions, but let me first kind of set the context in which I will answer those questions. So see, we operate Systems Limited, we operate in the same domain as the which companies, Wipro, Infosys, TCS, HCL, and the likes, right? We are in the IT services industry. We do have products, and some of the products are pretty popular. PartnerLink is a very popular product. It competes very well with the middleware products like Dell Boomi and the likes. And similarly, we have products in the insurance and reinsurance industry. We have products in retail and so on and so forth. So those products give us, and in that sense, this mentality of having products so that you can have a solution that you can take to the customer that gives you foot in the door. And once customer buys that product and recurring revenue starts coming in, then you can cross-sell other services as well. In that sense, we are no different than what the which companies do, right? It's just a matter of which product kind of hits which nerve of the customer. So in that sense, our value differentiation in terms of creating our products, in terms of focusing on specific industries, in terms of investing in our talent. So those value propositions are pretty much in the same direction as our competitors. Now, what is so unique about Pakistan? And that's a bad thing about Pakistan as well, but that is also something that we are able to bank on, is that if you talk to, and we have offshore center in India as well. We are trying our level best to hire top talent in India as well. So we understand what are the challenges that Wipro, Infosys, and TCS face in acquiring talent in India. One of the biggest challenges, hardly any tier 1 university graduate in India joins which companies. And remember, we are competing against which companies. Our competition is not with Microsoft or Google's of the world. They're a different domain altogether and in a different league. We are not even, I wouldn't say we are competing with Accenture. We would like to one day, but we are not. And neither is TCS and Wipro and Infosys. That's a different tier of service excellence, So imagine that in India, our competition is unable to hire talent from tier 1 Indian universities. Most of the talent that these companies are hiring are tier 3 universities, not even tier 2. Imagine if Google had an offshore center here, and Microsoft and Oracle and SAP and IBM. IBM had a small presence, and that is also vanishing. But imagine these really great companies of the world had an offshore center in Pakistan. What chance a company like Systems or 10 Pearls or anyone would ever have to attract a LUMS or a GIQ or NUST or UIT or PUCIT graduate? Zero. That's what's happening with the which companies. Now in Pakistan, our tier 1 universities talent is at par with the tier 1 universities across the world. Maybe minus Stanford and MITs of the world, but for offshore locations, tier 1 universities, our universities are at par. So Systems and other IT services company in Pakistan are able to hire tier 1 talent. And when this talent is pitted against the talent that Wipro and Tata and Infosys has, obviously this talent will win. Now, 10, 15 years ago, most of the projects were fixed price project. In a fixed price project, customer does not interview your team, but now most of the projects are staff augmentation. What that means is customer will interview your candidate, and that's where companies like Systems and any company potentially in Pakistan can have a higher talent density, and we are seeing dividends of that. This is an unfortunate situation for employees, but it is a great situation for employers like us, where our talent density in a heavily commercialized, commoditized domain that we operate in, and I'm not talking about, NASA is not knocking on our door to provide developers, right? I'm talking about typical commoditized work. For that, our talent density is much higher. At least much, maybe much is a little bit exaggeration, but definitely higher than our competitors. So that gives us a very good, unique value proposition, and we have seen dividends of that already for us. Now, the reason why I feel that other smaller IT services companies in Pakistan perhaps are not seeing that is because they have not aggressively invested in their own growth. When you lock a customer, a large enterprise customer, you will want to cross-sell other services. And if you're not invested in your own growth, every $2-3 million profit that you're getting every year, you are building a lifestyle business rather than reinvesting all of it into your own growth. What that means is that your technology footprint diversity is shrinking. So you might have a great customer, and now the customer wants SAP consulting. You have not invested in building that service. So now where does this leave you? So obviously you're leaving money on the table. Another company which is more aggressive, has a much more diversified footprint, will take up that business. So if you look at systems history in the last few years, what is it that we're doing? We have recognized this, and we understand that once you have a customer like Tapestry, which is the manufacturer of Coach, once you have some of the brand name customer that Ameen talked about, you got to have enough in your repertoire so to feed their appetite for cross-selling. That's why we have invested. We have acquired NDC Tech. That gives us a very strong footprint in banking. We're already seeing a lot of banks knocking on doors because of that. We have already started our SAP practice. We have already signed up many customers and delivered many projects. We were the partner of the year for SAP in our region. Now we're going to take SAP abroad. We're already seeing a customer where we have close to $10 million revenue annually. They have a $270 million budget for SAP. And they're already happy with our 10 million work. So just imagine if we expand our SAP services, we can, take a bite of that pie as well. So that is our strategy. And Pakistan gives us a unique value proposition because we don't have a lot of competition from other IT services company. And I wish to God that would change. I literally pray that other companies will also be as aggressive in their growth. They will give us a tough time by breathing on our necks, because unless you have a worthy number two, you tend to be complacent. And we are not here to poach people from all of the companies in Pakistan and doom them. We are here to actually serve the IT industry. So we really want other companies to follow in our footsteps, pick whatever they feel is applies to them from our playbook, and then grow.
Ameen, I want you to comment on this, but a different perspective that I want to give before you give your comment. Organizational maturity, diversification it's one perspective that we look at, and again, it's a great perspective. Another perspective that I usually hear from people, and just the IT circle, is that some of the companies, again, not in the likes of systems, but startups certainly, sometimes tend to depend on introductions, or if not depend, they like the tendency of having introductions in order to sort of get clients, or sort of pitch Pakistan or Pakistan's talent abroad. How do you think expats' roles or the role of diaspora matter, or does this factor in order to sort of project that sort of talent availability? I know that, we have certain precedents with India and Israel, where there's a strong diaspora community abroad, and they're sort of pitching their own countries and sort of doing certain campaigns to project that sort of image for their countries back at home. So how can the role of expats be looked upon, and is that a factor to look at?
I think, Kashoon, you made a very significant point, and I think my personal agenda, or something which I'm very passionate to do about, is that bring the same understanding and the knowledge of our capabilities, and even as a country, our potential, to everybody who's outside Pakistan. I know for sure that many of us or many people who move from Pakistan, maybe in early ages, or maybe as part of their educational program have not gone back and know and the capabilities and the size and scale of the operations which are currently available. So it is our responsibility to bring them up to speed and show them, what we have done, what we have built, and what is the potential within Pakistan. As much as I think if their responsibility also to seek and find out, I think Paklaunch is a great platform, right? Which is the people here in this platform are doing wonders to bring all that the knowledge, although it is more focused towards entrepreneurship or more focused around building businesses. My point is that that all building new ideas, creating new products is awesome, and we should continue to do that. But everything your startup company takes 5 years, 10 years to really mature and become a multi-billion-dollar company, where we already have capabilities and potential, and we're only missing that somebody should highlight it and somebody should be aware that there is 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 companies like that in Pakistan who can support larger customer base or enterprises within Pakistan. I think that's the most important thing in my mind. We should do it as individual, everybody on this call, everybody who belongs from Pakistan, who understand the capability of the Pakistan. So that's what my number one priority is, that how I can work with people like Paklaunch and any other forums, even speaking to people within the US government or the other institutes, which kind of relay and portray the policy which can prevent or promote business to Pakistan, to give them the visibility that Pakistan has the potential, Pakistan has the scale, Pakistan has the capability to bring all those services at a far more attractive price point, as well as quality, right? Somebody did ask about the quality of, at least tons of my customers have always tell me that somehow you guys are extremely talented, and I think that it becomes twofold. Number one is that that the talent is there, and but number two is I think people are very committed. Whoever I work across the globe, even my class fellows who are working for many other companies in Pakistan, I mean, they somehow has this commitment to doing something good, and whatever they're doing at best of their skills and capabilities. So I think that needs to be promoted not only by Pakistani government, but to all other forums, whether public, private, or individual capacities and whatnot. So I passionately talk about, even within my friend circle, with my family circle, I try to tell them our capabilities, and a lot of people are surprised, and more importantly, seeing is believing in my mind. I've taken many of my customers to Pakistan. I've shown them our development centers, their capabilities and skill and scale, and they're extremely surprised and positively surprised, and there's just a different mindset for them. And I think just because of that, not only we are able to attract customers, but we're also able to attract top talent within US as well, which currently works with us, and they go and they visit our offshore centers, they work with the teams there, and we just continue to, I think, follow that through to build that visibility across everywhere else.
Awesome. Kashif, do you want to add to it?
So I think we're almost out of time. Just one thing I see a lot of expats who are logged in. So one thing that I want to request our expats, adding to what Ameen is saying, and I've been expat myself most of my life. I tried to come back to Pakistan 3 times for the reasons that most of you have tried. Some of you might have succeeded, some of you might have failed, which is for parents. Twice I failed, 3rd time was the charm. So I finally made it. And one of the things that helped me make it the 3rd time and stick was because I was able to find a job that was intellectually satisfying, at the same time that would pay well enough and would give me enough understanding to actually take care of my ailing parents. And I'm sure that a lot of you expats out there would be going through similar situation. So there is a few questions. How can expats help if they want to outsource some business to Pakistan? What should they do? my request would be that you can help in two ways. First of all, think of that not just a national duty. I mean, let's not get into the emotional mumbo jumbo of that, right? And so I won't kind of put that emotional burden on you. Think of it that for those of you who want to come back to Pakistan, right now, one of the biggest hindrance really is that you'll have to make a personal, professional sacrifice to do your duty to your parents. It doesn't have to be that way. And the way this will only happen if there are more companies like Systems. If Systems can be that 1 billion company, System will have the need, first of all, the capacity to pay you your premium price, and also would have the need to keep you excited in a role that would be closer to your heart. So you have to do your part in maturing our IT service in industry for your own ulterior motives, right? This is one. So in that sense, if you are in a decision-making place with any enterprises, give Pakistani companies a fair chance to compete. Never, I'm not saying that you kind of give us an unfair advantage. That would never help. Even if we get a business through your crutches, that is not the sustainable model of growing. Just give us a fair chance. Make the introduction, and let us compete with the Wipros of the world and Infosys of the world. So that is one thing how you can help. The second most important thing is consider joining Systems. If you want to come back to Pakistan, I made it work finally. So we are in a desperate need for Americanized, Europeanized, foreign, well-groomed, well-mentored thought leaders. This is the biggest gap. This is what is inhibiting our growth at the moment. It's not the engineering talent. We have ample of that talent available. We only need to be from 8,000, we need to be around 21, 22,000 people company to reach that 1 billion revenue mark, which no company in Pakistan ever, I'm not talking about IT, no company ever has achieved. And that is where we need help from expats.
Wonderful.
Yeah, great. I
Kashif.
think,
Yep.
yeah, awesome. I think like we're right on time. We have to wrap up, but before we do that, there's just one last question that I would definitely touch upon. I think we talked a lot about talent. We talked a lot about organizational maturity, organizational policies that sort of help IT companies to sort of acquire those services and mature. But then we also have this perspective of IT policies and the regulatory environment. And there was this one question which said that, are there any recommendations for IT exports? And there was also a question that I was very late to see, which is by Yasir, which said that what are the key reasons that Pakistan IT has failed to grow at the rate it should despite the potential? I think a lot has been said, but just give us the perspective on the IT policies. Because System has these offshore centers in Egypt, India, Pakistan. Then what are the comparisons that you draw? And what do you suggest for Pakistan?
Kashif, you want to take first?
I will answer the second question because that's closer to my heart. And I mean, you can then answer the first question. So second question is, why has Pakistan IT industry underperformed? So there are 7 stakeholders that had a role to play for IT industry not to underperform. And all those, so it's more of a underperformance by 1,000 cuts. There is no one reason why Pakistan IT industry has not done what it could have. There are smaller multiple reasons. Collectively, they have kind of bogged the whole IT industry down. I gave a talk to LUMS, and whoever asked that question, if you can connect with me over LinkedIn, then I would love to have that detailed discussion with you, right? So please connect with me and I'll have a lengthy session and I can walk you through what are those challenges. I can connect both of you. Okay, awesome. But the good thing is at least 3 or 4 of those challenges are no longer relevant. So that's what makes us very optimistic that inshallah, in few years, you will start seeing Pakistan IT industry growing exponentially.
Yeah. Kashoon, can you repeat your first point again one more time? I'll respond to that.
I think it was on the regulatory framework in comparison to the other offshore centers. Yeah.
Yep. I think, definitely, I guess, there is a lot of things which government is currently happening, although, we are currently stressed with the current economic conditions over there. One of the things which our CEO at Systems has passionately talked about, ability for Pakistani companies to invest and acquire and expand into other regions, because that's where the core business is, right? The presence of your front-facing companies like Visionet, which are, your face to the customer, which are interacting with the customer, which are actually showing them the capability and the skill, which companies at like Systems is providing. That's very important, and for that, we have to invest. We have to go meet the customers where they are. Market our services across the globe. I also see, some of our neighboring countries, they have very strong forums. They have very strong communication from the technology advancements, from IP protection point of view, from policy point of view, from their legal laws point of view, which they circulate and communicate to everybody within, all other world. I'm more focused around US. I look at the US side of the business, but they communicate to everybody, and I think that's where the IT policy, IT organizations, or the companies or government within Pakistan needs to promote and communicate outwards and make everybody aware of all the policies and the things which are doing, and make it more easier for companies like Systems and other growing companies to invest, expand their footprint across the globe, wherever the business is.
Yeah, just that this question was in the chat, and I would like to briefly comment as well on the regulatory framework. As you said, Ameen, there's some companies and countries which are very tough on compliance, and countries like India are included in that list, right? So, and in that comparison, we often, look at Indian export figure and we say like, oh, this is one of a favorable destination to work. One of the reasons is because they have a certain continuity of policies that we lack in Pakistan. But in terms of compliance, they're more tough than Pakistan is. For instance, in Pakistan, we allow 100% foreign ownership for foreign investors. India does not allow that. We also have a couple of other parallels, but we're running short on time. But we can definitely, talk about in length and detail some other time. But, whenever we talk about regulatory frameworks and draw comparisons, I think it's a little unfair to draw a comparison with India, because India started back in 1980s. And now they have started to see the dividends of those policies that they sort of started introducing in 1980s. Pakistan sort of started, in this decade, I would say so. And, we're still in the maturing phase. We have a long road to go ahead.
There's a long road to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we are committed, Kashoon. We are committed, and I think we are passionate. We've seen that growth happening, right? So
definitely,
I think we are super excited.
I think a fun fact is that in terms of growth, Pakistan supersedes other South Asian countries in South Asia landscape. So that speaks a lot. Yes, I think so. I would, we've come to the end. If Kashif and Ameen, do you want to drop a closing note, or we can just?
I just want to say that there is a news that Star Wars. For those of you who don't know, Star Wars next director is a Pakistani, Oscar-winning Pakistani. So I hope in few years, inshallah, System will also make a headline in a good way like that.
Yeah, I can also tell you a fun fact, Kashif, not as exciting as the Star Wars, but I'll be relocating to West Coast to find business and connecting with a lot of talent in West Coast. So, I think if there are people in this call, from West Coast, I'll be interacting and working with them. And that's what my belief is, that a lot of innovation comes from technology space, and they convert into movies, and then movies convert into actual reality, and that's what you see with the AI and whatever the things which you were maybe 5 years, 10 years ago, you were watching them in movies. Now it becomes reality with ChatGPT and everything else. But we are super excited.
Yeah. I think we're talking about games and graphics and animation industry, but I think that's definitely a space to look at in Pakistan. The game industry is definitely booming at this point. We have a study coming up from Pasha and Mind Labs that we're collaborating with, jointly collaborating on a study. But I think the takeaway from this talk was that Pakistan has a huge potential in terms of availability of skilled talent, and Systems is doing a lot of work on it. Do connect with Kashif and Ameen. They have dropped their LinkedIn notes. Also, definitely connect with me if you want to make an introduction with the IT industry, largely because I work as policy lead at Pasha. I think I did not mention that initially, but definitely if you need introductions, Kashif, Ameen, Ali Bhai, or Pasha can give you that sort of introduction whenever you're planning a roadshow in Pakistan or just a visit, but definitely a space to watch out and a space to invest in because Pakistan offers a lot. I think that's the takeaway.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Kashoon,
everyone.
thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Kashif.
Bye.
Thank you, Ameen. Inspiring story that Systems have, and we're looking forward to have that 1 billion target met so that we can have the gifts that we were hoping for.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
We will
right.
be there.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Pak.
you.
Yeah, just thank you note to Paklaunch for organizing this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you, Ali.
Thanks a lot.
Definitely.
Bye.
Definitely.